Surah Al-Fil is the 105th chapter of the Quran. It is a Meccan surah consisting of 5 verses. For the readers, rhetorically the whole surah is in the interrogatory form, Asbab al-Nuzul. Though of some use in reconstructing the Quran's historicity, Asbab is by nature an exegetical rather than a historiographical genre, and as such usually associates the verses it explicates with general situations rather than specific events, taking its name from the mention of the army of the elephant in the first verse. This surah alludes to the Abyssinian campaign against Mecca in the year 570 of the Christian era. Ibrahim, the Christian viceroy of the Yemen, erected a great cathedral at Sana'a, hoping thus to divert the annual Arabian pilgrimage from the Meccan sanctuary, the Kaaba, to the new church. When this hope remained unfulfilled, he determined to destroy the Kaaba, and so he set out against Mecca at the head of a large army, which included a number of war elephants as well, and thus represented something hitherto unknown and utterly astounding to the Arabs. Hence the designation of that year, by contemporaries as well as historians of later generations, as the Year of the Elephant. Abraham's army was totally destroyed on its march, probably by an extremely virulent outbreak of smallpox or typhus, and Abraham himself died on his return to Sana'a. The Arabs described the year in which this event took place as the Year of the Elephant, and in the same year the Holy Messenger of Allah was born. The traditionists and historians almost unanimously state that the event of the people of the elephant had occurred in Muharram and the Holy Prophet was born in Rabi' al-Awwal. A majority of them states that he took birth 50 days after the event of the elephant. Period of revelation. Surahs in the Quran are not arranged in the chronological order of revelation because order of wahy or chronological order of revelation is not a part of Quran. Prophet Muhammad told his followers Sahaba the placement in Quranic order of every wahy revealed along with the original text of Quran. W.M. Theodore de Bari, an East Asian studies expert, describes that the final process of collection and codification of the Quran text was guided by one overarching principle. God's words must not in any way be distorted or sullied by human intervention. For this reason, no serious attempt, apparently, was made to edit the numerous revelations, organize them into thematic units, or present them in chronological order. Surah Al-Kalam is a Meccan surah, and Meccan surahs are chronologically earlier surahs that were revealed to Muhammad at Mecca before the Hijrah to Medina in 622 CE. They are typically shorter, with relatively short ayat, and mostly come near the end of the Quran's 114 surahs. Most of the surahs containing Muqattarat are Meccan. Henceforth, apart from traditions, this surah qualifies to be Meccan typically. Most of the Mufassirun say that this is unanimously a Meccan surah, and if it is studied against its historical background it appears that it must have been sent down in the very earliest stage at Makkah. Principal subject. The principal subject of the surah comprise of a specific historic event. The year of Muhammad's birth is identified as the Year of the Elephant, when Mecca was attacked by Abraham accompanied by an elephant. Quranic exegetes interpreted that God saved the Meccans from this force by sending a swarm of birds that pelted the invaders with clay stones and destroyed them. The army of Abraham destroyed for attacking the Kaaba is a reminder and an example that Allah can save his house by destroying an army of 60,000 with elephants through a flock of birds. The origin of the word sigil in verse 4 has the etymology proposed as Persian sang and gil, or Aramaic sgyl. In the Quran, sigil occurs in 2 other verses, 11-82 and 15-74. Theme of the surah. There are almost 7 divisions in the entire Quran according to themes. The final of these 7 sections starts from Surah Al-Mulk, Surah number 67, to Surah Al-Nas, Surah number 114. This final part, last seventh of the Quran, focuses on sources of reflection, people, their final scenes they will face on Judgment Day, and hellfire and paradise in general, an admonition to the Quraysh about their fate in the herein and the hereafter if they deny the Prophet Muhammad. Specifically, in this surah, Allah's punishment which was inflicted on the people of the elephant is referred to and described very briefly because it was an event of recent occurrence, and everyone in Mecca and Arabia was fully aware of it. That's why the Arabs believed that the Kaaba was protected in this invasion, not by any god or goddess, but by Allah Almighty Himself. Then Allah alone was invoked by the Quraysh chiefs for help, and for quite a few years the people of Quraysh, having been impressed by this event, had worshipped none but Allah. Therefore, there was no need to mention the details in Surah Al-Fil, but only a reference to it was enough. Javed Ahmad Ghamidi, a well-known Pakistani Muslim theologian, Quran scholar and exegeter, and educationist, explains the theme of Surah Al-Fil is to inform the Quraysh that the God, who routed his enemies in this manner before them, will also not spare them now that they too have shown enmity to him. They will also be devastated in a similar manner. Coherence with adjacent surahs. The idea of textual relation between the verses of a chapter has been discussed under various titles such as Nazm and Munasabah in non-English literature, and coherence, text relations, intertextuality, and unity in English literature. Hamiduddin Farahi, an Islamic scholar of the Indian subcontinent, is known for his work on the concept of Nazm, or coherence, in the Quran. Fakhruddin al-Razi, Zarkashi and several other classical as well as contemporary Quranic scholars have contributed to the studies. Connection with previous surah. This surah Al-Fil and the next one Quraysh both form a pair with regard to their subject matter according to almost all of Quranic scholars. In surahs Al-Qariyah to Al-Humazah, it is pointed to the Quraysh that they have remained so possessed with the love of wealth and children that they have grossly failed to fulfill the rights of Allah as well as their own fellow beings. In spite of this, they still claim to be the heirs of Abraham and Ishmael and the custodians of the Baytullah built by them. Connection with next surah. The first surah in the current pair warns the Quraysh, with reference to the incident of the elephant, to fear God, while the second surah urges them to keep in mind the favors they enjoy because of the Baytullah and consequently give up rebelliousness against God, and worship Him only. In this particular surah and its dual counterpart, Surah Quraysh, which succeeds it, they are cautioned that they have been blessed with peace and sustenance not because of their own efforts or because they were entitled to them, but because of the Prophet Abraham's invocation and the blessings of the house which he built. Therefore, instead of showing vanity, it is their obligation to worship the Lord of this house, who fed them in hunger and secured them against every kind of danger. In this Surah 105, the Quraysh are reminded of a significant event of their history. The Almighty had helped them decidedly in combating the forces of Abraham who attacked the Baytullah with a 60,000-strong army to demolish it. It was not easy for the Quraysh to face such a big army in the open whose vanguard consisted of elephants. They had therefore sought refuge in the nearby mountains, and had defended the Holy Land by hurling stones at the advancing enemy. This defense was indeed very frail and feeble, but the Almighty transformed it into a powerful outburst which totally destroyed the enemy, and their dead bodies were feasted upon by kites, vultures and crows. Hadith about Surah Al-Fil. Tafsir is the Arabic word for exegesis, usually of the Quran. A Quranic tafsir will often explain content and provide places and times not contained in Quranic verses, as well as give the different views and opinions of scholars on the verse. The first and foremost exegesis, tafsir of the Quran is found in Hadith of Prophet Muhammad. Although scholars including Ibn Taymiyyah claim that Muhammad has commented on the whole of the Quran, others including Ghazali cite the limited amount of narratives, thus indicating that he has commented only on a portion of the Quran. Hadith is literally speech, recorded saying or tradition of Muhammad validated by isnad, with Surah Rasul Allah. These comprise the Sunnah and reveal Sharia. According to the Prophet's wife Aisha, the life of Prophet Muhammad was practical implementation of Quran. Therefore, high account of Hadith elevates the importance of the surah from a certain perspective. This surah holds special esteem in Hadith due to historical context which can be observed by the related narratives. Narrated Al-Muttalib bin Abdullah bin Qais bin Makrama, from his father, from his grandfather, that he said, I and the Messenger of Allah were born in the year of the elephant, he said. And Uthman bin Affan asked Gubath bin Ashayim, the brother of Banu Yamar bin Layth, are you greater or the Messenger of Allah? He said, the Messenger of Allah is greater than me, but I have an earlier birthday, he said, and I saw the defecation of the birds turning green. The event took place at Mahasir by the Mahasab Valley, between Muzdalifah and Mina. According to the Sahih Muslim and Abu Dawud, in the description of the Holy Prophets the farewell pilgrimage that Imam Jafar as-Sadiq has related from his father, Imam Muhammad al-Baqir, and he from Hadrat Jabir ibn Abdallah, he says that when the Holy Prophet proceeded from Muzdalifah to Mina, he increased his speed in the valley of Mahasir. Imam al-Nawawi has explained it saying that the incident of the people of the elephant had occurred there, therefore, the pilgrims have been enjoined to pass by quickly, for Mahasir is a tormented place. Imam Malik in Muwatta has related that the Holy Prophet said that the whole of Muzdalifah is a fit place for staying, but one should not stay in the valley of Mahasir. Narrated by Maswar bin Makrama and Marwan I that Allah's Messenger set out at the time of Treaty of Hudaybiyah. The she-camel of the Prophet sat down. The people tried their best to cause the she-camel to get up, but in vain. So they said, Our Qaswa has become stubborn. Our Qaswa has become stubborn. The Prophet said, Our Qaswa has not become stubborn, for stubbornness is not her habit. But she was stopped by him who stopped the elephant. Then he said, By the name of him in whose hands my soul is, if they ask me anything which will respect the ordinances of Allah, I will grant it to them. The Prophet then rebuked the she-camel and she got up. Narrated Abu Hurairah that, when Allah, the Exalted and Majestic, granted Allah's Messenger victory over Mecca, he stood before people and praised and extolled Allah and then said, Verily Allah held back the elephants from Mecca and gave the domination of it to his Messenger and believers. And it was not violable to anyone before me, and it was made violable to me for an hour of a day, and it shall not be violable to anyone after me. So neither molest the game, nor weed out thorns from it. And it is not lawful for anyone to pick up a thing dropped but one who makes public announcement of it. And if a relative of anyone is killed, he is entitled to opt for one of two things. Either he should be paid blood money or he can take life as